What if the confusion you're feeling right now isn't confusion at all? What if it's growth? What if the silence, the waiting, the stretching is actually God aligning you with something bigger than you ever imagined? Let me tell you something tender and true. When God is leading you on the right path, it rarely feels loud. It feels steady. The first sign is this: you feel a quiet, unshakable peace even when nothing around you makes sense. Not excitement, not certainty, peace. And peace doesn't mean the storm disappears. It means you stop panicking in the storm. You still have questions. You still have bills. You still have people who don't understand your choices. But deep down, there is a sacred calm that whispers, keep walking. That kind of peace doesn't come from logic. It doesn't come from approval. It doesn't come from guarantees. It comes from alignment. When you're on the wrong path, your body knows. Anxiety screams. You force things. You chase validation. You feel like you're betraying yourself just to keep others comfortable. But when God is guiding you, even when you're scared, you're not scrambling. You're anchored. You may not know the destination, but you know you're not lost. And that quiet peace, that's not weakness. That's courage wrapped in trust. If you've been feeling calm in places where you should be panicking, pay attention. That's not coincidence. That's direction. Let's talk about heartbreak, because the second sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: doors closed that you desperately wanted to stay open. And it hurts. The job you prayed for falls apart. The relationship you fought for ends. The opportunity you thought was the one slips through your fingers. And your first reaction is rejection. You think, I wasn't enough. I failed. I misheard God. But sometimes protection feels exactly like rejection. When you're on the wrong path, doors may stay open, but they drain you. They shrink you. They demand pieces of you that God never asked you to sacrifice. When you're on the right path, some doors slam shut, not to punish you, but to preserve you. And here's the hard truth: you can't step into what's meant for you while clinging to what's familiar. Growth requires grief. God will remove what you don't have the strength to walk away from on your own. And in the moment, it feels cruel. It feels unfair. It feels like abandonment. But look back at your life. How many closed doors became blessings in disguise? How many no's protected you from a future you would have regretted? Sometimes the clearest sign you're being guided is disruption. If something fell apart and you didn't force it back together, if deep down you sensed it was time, that's not failure. That's redirection. And redirection is sacred. The third sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: you're changing. And not in small, comfortable ways. You're becoming someone you barely recognize. The conversations you used to tolerate now exhaust you. The habits that once felt normal now feel heavy. The drama that once pulled you in now feels childish. And sometimes that shift is lonely, because growth has a strange side effect. It separates you from who you used to be, and sometimes from the people who only knew that version of you. When God is guiding you, He doesn't just change your circumstances. He changes your character. You start choosing peace over proving a point. You start setting boundaries without apologizing for having needs. You start saying no, even when it disappoints others, and that can feel uncomfortable. People may say you've changed, and they're right, you have. Because when you're on the wrong path, you shrink to survive. When you're on the right path, you expand, even if it costs you comfort. Transformation is rarely glamorous. It feels like shedding skin. It feels like outgrowing rooms you once begged to enter. It feels like releasing identities that once protected you. But here's the beautiful truth: evolution is evidence. If you're growing in integrity, if you're becoming braver, softer, wiser, if you're less reactive and more grounded, that's not accidental. That's guidance. God doesn't lead you back to who you were. He leads you forward into who you're becoming. The fourth sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: when you mess up, you feel convicted, not condemned. And there is a powerful difference. Condemnation says you are a failure. Conviction says that choice wasn't aligned with who you're becoming. One attacks your identity. The other protects your integrity. When you're on the wrong path, shame gets loud. It tells you that you're unworthy, incapable, permanently flawed. It pushes you to hide, to pretend, to perform your way back into belonging. But when God is guiding you, correction feels different. It's firm, but it's loving. It challenges you, but it doesn't crush you. You might feel that inner nudge after speaking harshly. You might feel discomfort after compromising your values. You might sense that subtle ache when you know you acted from fear instead of faith. That ache isn't rejection. It's refinement. It means your conscience is alive. It means your heart is tender. It means you care about becoming better, not just looking better. Growth requires accountability. And when you're being led, you don't run from it. You lean into it. You apologize faster. You reflect more honestly. You choose alignment over ego. That's maturity. That's spiritual development. That's evidence of direction. Because God doesn't shame you into transformation. He invites you into it. If your mistakes are making you wiser instead of bitter, softer, instead of defensive, stronger, instead of ashamed, you are not off track. You are being shaped. The fifth sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: you're releasing identities that once felt essential to survive. And that can feel terrifying. Maybe you were the strong one, the fixer, the people pleaser, the achiever, the one who never needed help, the one who carried everyone else's emotional weight. And now you're tired, not physically tired, soul tired, because the version of you that was built from survival is no longer sustainable in a season of growth. When you're on the wrong path, you cling to labels because they make you feel safe. You say, this is just who I am. You defend patterns that are actually wounds, but when God is guiding you, he gently exposes the masks. You start realizing that being strong doesn't mean suppressing your pain. That being kind doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. That being successful doesn't mean sacrificing your peace. And letting go of those roles feels like stepping into open air without armor. It's vulnerable. It's disorienting. It's honest. You might lose relationships that only valued the old version of you. You might disappoint people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. But here's the truth. You can't step into your calling while clinging to your coping mechanisms. Release is sacred. If you're shedding roles that once defined you, if you're choosing authenticity over approval, if you're allowing yourself to be human instead of heroic, that's not weakness. That's alignment. God isn't stripping you down to shame you. He's freeing you to become whole. The sixth sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: you are slowly becoming comfortable with being misunderstood. And let me tell you, that is not easy. There was a time when you needed everyone to understand you. You over-explained your decisions. You defended your boundaries. You justified your growth so no one would feel uncomfortable. But now you're quieter, not because you don't care, but because you don't need applause to stay aligned. When you're on the wrong path, you chase approval like oxygen. You bend your truth to fit other people's expectations. You trade authenticity for acceptance. But when you're on the right path, something shifts. You realize that obedience sometimes looks like isolation. You realize that growth disrupts old dynamics. You realize that not everyone is assigned to understand your evolution, and that hurts. Because being misunderstood can feel like rejection. It can feel lonely. It can feel unfair. But here's the deeper truth. If everyone agrees with you, you're probably not stretching. When God is guiding you, your conviction gets stronger than your need to be liked. You start saying, this is what I feel called to do, even when others shake their heads. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You allow people to have their opinions without letting those opinions control your direction. That is maturity. That is courage. That is faith. If you're walking a path that not everyone understands, but your spirit feels steady, you're not lost. You're being led. The seventh sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: you are being stretched in ways that scare you, not destroyed, not crushed, stretched. There's a difference When you're on the wrong path, discomfort feels depleting. It drains your energy. It makes you smaller. It forces you to betray your values just to survive. But when you're on the right path, discomfort feels expanding. You're asked to speak when you'd rather stay silent. You're asked to trust when you'd rather control. You're asked to show up before you feel fully ready. And that stretch, it feels vulnerable. Your voice shakes. Your hands sweat. Your heart races. But beneath the fear, there's excitement, there's purpose. There's a quiet whisper saying, you were made for more than this comfort zone. Growth is not cozy, it's courageous. If you feel called to something that intimidates you, a new direction, a bigger responsibility, a deeper level of honesty, pay attention. God rarely calls you to what you've already mastered. He calls you to what will mature you. Stretching strengthens you. It builds resilience. It builds character. It builds trust, not in your own perfection, but in your capacity to grow. If you're uncomfortable but becoming braver, if you're challenged but not broken, if you're afraid but still moving forward, that's not misalignment. That's expansion. And expansion is evidence that you're exactly where you need to be. The eighth sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: the things that once tempted you no longer satisfy you. And that shift is powerful. The drama that once felt exciting now feels exhausting. The attention that once validated you now feels empty. The shortcuts that once seemed clever now feel costly. When you're on the wrong path, you crave quick relief. You chase distractions. You numb discomfort with habits that promise control but deliver regret. But when you're being guided, something changes inside you. You start craving depth over dopamine, peace over popularity, integrity over instant gratification. And it surprises you because the old version of you would have said yes. The old version would have reacted. The old version would have needed that hit of validation. But now you pause, you breathe, you choose differently, not because you're perfect, not because you're immune to struggle, but because your spirit has matured. Growth rewires your desires. You begin to see consequences more clearly. You feel the weight of misalignment faster. You recognize when something looks good on the surface, but doesn't honor who you're becoming. And that awareness is sacred. If you're walking away from things that used to pull you in, if you're choosing restraint over reaction, if you're saying no to what once controlled you, that's not coincidence. That's transformation. God doesn't just change your destination. He changes your appetite. And when your cravings shift toward truth, wholeness, peace, you are not off track. You are evolving. The ninth sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: things are unfolding in timing that stretches your patience, not your ego. Let's be honest. We love instant results. We love visible proof. We love progress we can post about, but when you're being led, growth often happens underground. Seeds don't break the soil the day they're planted, and neither do you. When you're on the wrong path, things can move fast, too fast. You get quick wins, immediate validation, rapid momentum. But deep down, it feels unstable, rushed, fragile. When you're on the right path, there's a different rhythm, delays that refine you, waiting seasons that build character, closed chapters that force you to develop patience. And waiting is uncomfortable. It exposes your need for control. It confronts your fear of being forgotten. It tests whether you trust the process or just the outcome. But here's the truth: divine timing is not denial. It's preparation. If something hasn't happened yet, but you feel aligned, if you're working, growing, healing, even without applause, if you sense progress internally before you see it externally, that's evidence. God is more concerned with who you're becoming than how quickly you're succeeding. Because what arrives too soon can crush you. But what arrives in the right season, it sustains you. If your life feels slow, but steady, stretched, but stable, patient, but purposeful, you're not being ignored. You're being prepared. The 10th and final sign that God is leading you on the right path is this: deep inside, you hear a quiet yes, even when the world says no. This is the one that changes everything, because the world will often resist your growth. People will doubt you. Circumstances will seem impossible. Doors will stay closed. And fear will whisper, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you're off track. But there's a subtle, unwavering signal inside your soul that refuses to be ignored. It's a yes that feels like breathing, effortless, undeniable, and alive. It doesn't guarantee comfort. It doesn't promise popularity or approval. It doesn't shield you from mistakes or heartbreak. But it assures you that, despite the chaos, you are moving in alignment with something greater than yourself. When God is guiding you, that yes becomes your compass. It whispers through intuition, through peace, through moments of courage you never thought you had. It keeps you walking forward when walking backward seems easier. It keeps your heart open when fear tempts you to close it. And here's the sacred truth. Following that yes will lead you exactly where you need to be. Not because life will be easy. Not because everyone will understand, but because your soul will recognize home when it arrives. So if you feel that quiet yes, that steady pulse in your heart saying, keep going, listen, lean in, trust it. Because every closed door, every stretch, every challenge, every act of letting go has been guiding you to this moment. Walk it boldly. Step into it fully. You are exactly where you're meant to be.